G'day guys, JB here with the off-season finally upon us and another 82-game season finally out of the way, with no COVID hiccups, with no bubble, a full 82 games. I think it's time that I release formally my 50 greatest NBA players of all time. Some of you will agree, some of you will disagree, some will be surprised by some rankings, some won't be so surprised by some rankings, but I think you'll enjoy it. So sit back, relax, if you can in fact relax listening to lists and the sounds of my voice, and get ready for my 50 greatest NBA players of all time. At number 25, Bob Cousy. Played 1950-51 to 1969-70. Six-time NBA champion, one-time league MVP, 10-time All-NBA first-team selection, two-time All-NBA second-team selection, 13-time All-Star selection, two-time All-Star Game MVP, and eight-time assist champion. Cousy finished top 10 in MVP voting 8 times, top 5 in MVP voting 4 times, top 3 in MVP voting twice, and was of course an MVP winner. For Cousy's statistics, there were no defensive numbers, there were no turnover numbers, and he never played with a three-point line. With that, in the regular season, he played 924 games, averaging 35.3 minutes per game. He averaged 18.4 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game, and 7.5 assists per game. He shot 37.5% from the field and 80.3% from the free throw line. In the playoffs, he played 109 games, averaging 38.5 minutes per game. He averaged 18.5 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, and 8.6 assists per game. He shot 34.2% from the field and 80.1% from the free throw line. In the NBA Finals, he played 42 games, averaging 39 minutes per game. He averaged 17 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 9.5 assists per game, and shot 33.7% from the field and 77% from the free throw line. If there is a player that is more maligned by the uneducated opinions of basketball fans around the world who have never studied the history of the game, then I haven't met them. With limited footage and statistics that without context are not able to draw a broader picture, and the fact that pro basketball in his era was still essentially in its growing stages, Bob Cousy's career is almost disregarded. It is common for those who know nothing about the era to say that he was nothing but a short white guy or a cab driver who couldn't dribble and couldn't shoot. The fact of the matter is that no point guard in NBA history has as many All-NBA first-team selections as Bob Cousy, and he set the table for 6 of those Boston Celtic championship teams. Cousy is just one of 4 players with 6 championship rings and an MVP award, and his 8 straight assist titles from 1952-53 to 1959-60 are only surpassed by the 9 straight won by John Stockton from 1987-88 to 1995-96. There is some context that needs to be given on Bob Cousy and his statistics. The most common complaint is the fact he never shot 40% from the field in his career. For comparison, Cousy's career field goal percentage of 37.5% in the regular season was just 2.8 percentage points below the league average for his career of 40.3%. In 2021-22, that would be equal to shooting 43.3% from the field, which is better than All-Stars Fred VanVleet and LaMelo Ball, both of whom averaged 20 points a game. For another comparison, Cousy's career free throw percentage of 80.3% was 6.7 percentage points above the league average for his career of 73.6%. In 2021-22, that would be equal to shooting 84.2% from the line, which is better than at least 12 of the league's 20-point-per-game players last year, of which 4 were All-Stars, including scoring champion Joel Embiid and league MVP Nikola Jokic. Would anyone in today's game dare say that today's All-Stars couldn't make it in the NBA over 60 years ago, including the current scoring champion and league MVP? I doubt it. Let's look at his career numbers overall in comparison to history in the modern game. In league history, only 7 players have averaged at least 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists a game for a career in the regular season. They are LaMelo Ball, Luka Doncic, LeBron James, Magic Johnson, Oscar Robertson, Russell Westbrook, and Bob Cousy. When you extend this line out to at least 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists a game for a career in the playoffs, this list is down to just 4 players: Magic Johnson, Ja Morant, Oscar Robertson, and Bob Cousy. Across the board, a group of players that look as though they will at some stage be in the Hall of Fame. For more perspective, in the 2021-22 regular season, only 6 players averaged at least 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 7 assists a game: LaMelo Ball, Luka Doncic, James Harden, Nikola Jokic, Dejounte Murray, and Russell Westbrook. In the playoffs, only 2 players averaged at least 18 points, 5 rebounds, and 8 assists: James Harden and Ja Morant. While the game has changed and evolved, is it fair to now suggest that all the players I have mentioned here would not survive in another era? The fact of the matter is that the game over time has benefited perimeter players, and as you go back in time, the situation of the game was more beneficial to power forwards and centres. The fact is that Cousy is a founding father of the game we have today, and that without his contributions, the game in the league would have taken longer to develop. Drafted in 1950 to the Tri-City Blackhawks, Cousy was traded to the Chicago Stags before the club folded and then traded to the Celtics. An all-star from the moment he joined the league to the day he retired as a Boston Celtic, Cousy would instantly turn around the fortunes of the famed franchise as they recorded their first ever 500 season and made the playoffs for the second time ever. This would be the first of 19 consecutive playoff runs and 500 seasons for the franchise, and there is no denying Cousy was the catalyst for this. It would take 3 seasons, but Cousy, alongside of Ed McCauley and Bill Sharman, would deliver the Celtics' first ever playoff victory in 1953 against the Syracuse Nationals, as Sharman developed into the shooting guard that he would develop a successful chemistry alongside of. Syracuse would prove to be the thorn in the side of the Celtics after this. While defeating the Knicks in the first round of the 1955 playoffs, the Nats would have the Celtics' number for 3 seasons between 1954 and 1956. This would be the last time in Cousy's career that he would not see the NBA Finals. With an MVP season as judged by his peers in 1956-57 and the addition of Bill Russell, the Celtics now had a combination that saw the Celtic dynasty begin. A strong outlet pass to the 45 from a Russell rebound to Cousy on the wing to start the now fabled and at times innovative Celtic fast break, Boston was off to the races with a big man, little man combination that still ranks as one of the greatest in league history. With the pressure now off him, Cousy could still go about his game passing and scoring while not having to shoulder most of the load. Cousy would retire a 6-time champion Celtic at the end of the 1962-63 season and then have a brief stint with the Cincinnati Royals in 1969-70 before completely giving the game away. Bob Cousy is a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame, was selected to the NBA's 25th, 35th, 50th and 75th anniversary teams, and his number 14 is retired by Boston. At number 24, Kevin Garnett. Played 1995-96 to 2015-16. A one-time NBA champion, a one-time MVP, a one-time Defensive Player of the Year, a 4-time All-NBA first-team selection, 3-time All-NBA second-team selection, 2-time All-NBA third-team selection, 9-time All-Defensive first-team selection, 3-time All-Defensive second-team selection, 15-time All-Star selection, 1-time All-Star Game MVP, 4-time rebounding champion, and All-Rookie first-team selection. Garnett finished top 10 in MVP voting 7 times, top 5 in MVP voting 5 times, top 3 in MVP voting 4 times, was a 2-time runner-up MVP, and of course a 1-time MVP winner. In the regular season, he played 1,462 games, averaging 34.5 minutes per game. He averaged 17.8 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 3.7 assists per game, 1.3 steals per game, 1.4 blocks per game, and 2.2 turnovers per game. He shot 49.7% from the field, 27.5% from deep, and 78.9% from the free throw line. In the playoffs, he played 143 games, averaging 36.9 minutes per game. He averaged 18.2 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, 3.3 assists per game, 1.2 steals per game, 1.3 blocks per game, and 2.4 turnovers per game. He shot 47.8% from the field, 27.3% from deep, and 78.9% from the free throw line. In the NBA Finals, he played 13 games, averaging 34.6 minutes per game. He averaged 16.6 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 1.3 steals per game, 1.2 blocks per game, and 2.1 turnovers per game. He shot 46.6% from the field. He did not make any of his three-point attempts in the NBA Finals and shot 81.8% from the free throw line. The transition into the NBA is one that is filled with lofty goals and personal expectations. Players that make it to the NBA have dreamed about their opportunity from when they first picked up a ball or watched a game. And while the goals and aspirations of the player are always high, the expectations from the franchise and the fans are often higher and unrealistic. This is usually set aside for college players or pro players from other leagues. If you were to magnify all of this by 100, you get the expectations of those few who went from high school players who then went straight to the NBA. Very few have lived up to the hype of high school phenom. Kevin Garnett is one of those few. Tall, lengthy and skinny, coming from Farragut Academy in Chicago, Garnett decided to forego college and with the 5th pick of the 1995 NBA draft, was selected to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Some questioned if this would be the right move by a franchise that had just entered the league during its expansion in 1989-90, but by the end of his time as a Timberwolf and at the end of his career, it was clear that the big ticket had put on a show and delivered a Hall of Fame performance. By no means setting the world on fire in his rookie season, averaging 10.4 points, 6.3 rebounds and 1.6 blocks, he would learn next to the likes of Isaiah Ryder, Christian Laettner, Tom Gugliotta, Terry Porter and Spud Webb what it meant to be a young star and a leader. These lessons paid off by his second season. With the growth of Garnett into an all-star and the acquirement of Stephon Marbury, the Timberwolves had found themselves growing from 25 wins to 40 wins, and the first of their 8 straight playoff appearances. The only issue was the team's 7 consecutive first-round eliminations. The Timberwolves of this time period suffered similar issues to the current Timberwolves. Plenty of young stars, plenty of highlights, but not much to show for it. However, it is hard to put this all on Garnett's shoulders. This is evident when you look at his production at this time. In the 7 straight years of first-round defeats, KG posted 20.8 points, 11 rebounds, 4.7 assists, 1.4 steals, and 1.7 blocks a game between 1996-97 and 2002-03. In that span, he led the team in scoring 5 times, rebounds 6 times, assists once, steals twice, and blocks 7 times, and led them in all 5 major categories in 2002-03. Couple the weight of the world on top of the death of his teammate Malik Sealy following the end of the 99-2000 season, it is easy to see why things may not have been working in Minnesota. Garnett would look to make amends for this in his MVP season of 2003-04, leading the team in everything besides assists, lifting Minnesota to a franchise record 58 wins, leading the league in rebounds for the first of 4 consecutive occasions, earning All-NBA and All-Defensive First-Team honours to go with an All-Star selection. KG led Minnesota into the Western Conference Finals and their last playoff appearance under his leadership, falling in 6 games to the Los Angeles Lakers. This would be the peak of KG's time in Minnesota as the team fell apart and dipped in the seedings in his final 3 years. By the end of the 06-07 season, the Timberwolves started taking trade offers for the man who remains the franchise's all-time leader in points, rebounds, assists, steals and blocks. In a 7-for-1 trade, Garnett was off to Boston. Joining he and Paul Pierce at the Celtics would be veteran shooting guard Ray Allen to form one of the most famous Big Three combinations in history. With a world of expectation on their shoulders to deliver a championship, Garnett earned Defensive Player of the Year honours and helped lead the largest single-season turnaround in NBA history. Boston finished with a 66-16 record, a 43-game swing from the season prior, to deliver the Celtics' first NBA championship since 1985-86. This all but capped off Garnett's career. After slaving away for a decade with little to no success, KG was now a champion, proving that anything is possible. The Celtics looked favourites to repeat as champions in 2008-09, and until a knee injury following the All-Star game saw KG miss all but 4 games in the back half of the season and miss the playoffs. This would be the start of Garnett's decline. With the Celtics returning to the NBA Finals despite managing just 50 wins, they had won 62 games in 2008-9, Garnett would deliver his worst playoff run to date, including the second lowest rebounding rate of his playoff career in the finals, as the Celtics lost in 7 games. With the Lakers dominating the West, the Celtics now had to turn their attention to the Heat in the East, and with the formation of their own Big Three, Miami would assume the role as the best team in basketball. Boston would try to contend in 2012, but age had finally caught up with their veterans. A final run in 2013 saw Garnett's time in Boston end, being traded along with team veteran Paul Pierce to form an old-age super team with Joe Johnson and Deron Williams in Brooklyn. After falling to the Miami Heat in the second round of the 2014 playoffs, Garnett would finish his career out as a role player. Just as this story started with a fairy tale idea, it finished just like a dream, with KG heading back to Minnesota to the end of the 2014-15 season and playing the final 38 games of his career with the Timberwolves before calling time on his career at the end of the 2015-16 season, finishing alongside fellow generational legends Tim Duncan and Kobe Bryant. Kevin Garnett is a member of the Basketball Hall of Fame, was selected to the NBA's 75th anniversary team, and his number 5 is retired by Boston. At number 23, Dirk Nowitzki. Played 1998-99 to 2018-19. Dirk was a one-time NBA champion, a one-time Finals MVP, a one-time League MVP, a 4-time All-NBA first-team selection, a 5-time All-NBA second-team selection, a 3-time All-NBA third-team selection, and a 14-time All-Star selection. Dirk finished top 10 in MVP voting 9 times, top 3 in MVP voting 3 times, and was a one-time MVP winner. In the regular season, he played 1,522 games, averaging 33.8 minutes per game. He averaged 20.7 points per game, 7.5 rebounds per game, 2.4 assists per game, 0.8 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game, and 1.6 turnovers per game. He shot 47.1% from the field, 38% from deep, and 87.9% from the free throw line. In the playoffs, he played 145 games, averaging 40.7 minutes per game. He averaged 25.3 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 2.5 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 0.9 blocks per game, and 2.3 turnovers per game. He shot 46.2% from the field, 36.5% from deep, and 89.2% from the free throw line. In the NBA Finals, he played 12 games, averaging 42 minutes per game. He averaged 24.4 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists per game, 0.8 steals per game, 0.8 blocks per game, and 2.5 turnovers per game. He shot 40.4% from the field, 30.2% from deep, and 93.1% from the free throw line. Few players in the history of the NBA have revolutionised their position. Generally, this is done due to a player's ability to play the position or the size and athleticism at the position. Big men are generally the ones to do this by adding size to a smaller area and excelling beyond what people expected. Seldom do you think of a player who did this purely off skill. In today's NBA, Steph Curry changed the way the point guard position is played with a shoot first, pass second mentality, and Nikola Jokic has bolstered the big man's ability to play what is a point centre role. But one man truly changed the way big men approach the game with the ability to step outside of the block and extend their range to the three-point line. Dirk Nowitzki. Labelled as soft due to his outside game as a big and lacking the general grunt and grind most American big men utilised during this time, Nowitzki turned the tables to retire as one of the 10 greatest point scorers in league history and leave a legacy as the greatest shooting big man ever. Nowitzki was first recognised as an NBA talent when he embarrassed the likes of Charles Barkley and Scottie Pippen with 52 points. Drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks with the 9th pick of the 1998 NBA draft, Nowitzki was immediately traded to the Mavericks, where he would play the whole of his career. Dirk's loyalty never wavered from the franchise despite multiple offers throughout the years. His 21 seasons and 1,522 games as a Maverick are both records with one franchise, with his seasons tied second most in league history and his games placing him 4th all time. Loyal and durable, Nowitzki would be justly rewarded throughout his decorated career. Dirk's beginnings in the NBA saw him grow from a quiet shooting reserve in his first season on a 19-win team in the 1999 lockout season, to the second option on a 40-win team in his second season, to the number one option and player on a 53-win team by his third season. In Nowitzki, Dallas had found an All-NBA level building block, of which was, for 12 straight seasons, that they would grow the franchise around in a bid to win their first ever championship. 2000-2001 would be the first of 15 playoff appearances in 16 years for the Mavericks as they competed in a deep Western Conference. The West would be littered with superstar big men throughout the next decade, but Dallas contained the most unique of the bunch. Earning the first of 11 straight All-Star selections, and 14 overall in 2001-2, Dallas and Nowitzki continued to progress. Setting the first of 3 franchise records for wins in a season, the Mavericks would make it to the second round again before the 2002-3 season saw them in the Western Conference Finals. After 2 grueling 7-game series with Portland and Sacramento, Nowitzki had Dallas tied with San Antonio 1-1 before a Game 3 injury saw his playoffs end. Dallas were eliminated in 6 games, but one must wonder what a full playoff series of prime Tim Duncan against a firing Dirk Nowitzki would have looked like. Dirk returned fully healthy in 0-3-4 and over the next 2 seasons posted his best all-around numbers, but just couldn't get out of the second round. This all changed in 2005-6. In what was an MVP snub, Dirk led the Mavericks to their second 60-win season and as the lone all-star on the team led them to the NBA Finals. While the 2005-6 season is remembered for Steve Nash winning his second MVP award over Kobe Bryant, many forget the load that Nowitzki shouldered in the Western Conference as he led Dallas past Memphis, San Antonio and Phoenix. Facing the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals, Nowitzki's poor shooting from the field didn't aid his team in their quest for championship success as they blew a 2-0 lead to lose the series in 6 games. Dirk's 2006-7 season saw his career at a crossroads, leading the Mavericks to the best record in the NBA with 67 wins, and off the back of all his hard work, Dirk would be named the league's MVP ahead of former teammate and defending repeat MVP, Steve Nash. This seemed to give the Mavericks all the momentum they needed to finally win a championship, until they faced the, we believe, Golden State Warriors. The Warriors would upset the Mavericks in the first round of the playoffs, right before Nowitzki was awarded the MVP trophy, placing a major dampener on his celebrations. Many began questioning Dirk as a leader and whether Dallas had the ability to win it all. With more than consistent early playoff exits, it appeared as though Dirk would finish his career without a championship. What would it take for him to achieve the ultimate success? One of the greatest playoff runs in league history. 2010-11 Mavericks under Nowitzki as its lone all-star would stun the basketball world to win the NBA championship. A first-round defeat of LaMarcus Aldridge and the Trailblazers, a sweep of the defending champion Lakers and Kobe Bryant, and a 5-game victory against scoring champion Kevin Durant and OKC saw Dallas pitted against the Miami Heat Big Three of LeBron James, Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. Trailing 2-1, it would be Nowitzki with a high fever, scoring 10 points in the fourth quarter of Game 4 to tie the series. LeBron James scoring just 8 points all game. This would be the last time the Heat would compete, as Dirk delivered a career-defining championship and Finals MVP performance. Nowitzki would see Dallas to the playoffs 4 more times in his career before retiring from the game as its 6th all-time scorer and its most loyal superstar ever. Dirk Nowitzki was selected to the NBA's 75th anniversary team. His number 41 is retired by Dallas, and he will be a first ballot member of the Basketball Hall of Fame when he is eligible. At number 22, Giannis Antetokounmpo, active since 2013-14. Giannis is a 1-time NBA champion, a 1-time Finals MVP, 2-time League MVP, 1-time Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-NBA First-Team Selection, 2-time All-NBA Second-Team Selection, 4-time All-Defensive First-Team Selection, 1-time All-Defensive Second-Team Selection, 6-time All-Star Selection, 1-time All-Star MVP, 1-time Most Improved Player of the Year, and All-Rookie Second-Team Selection. Giannis has finished top 10 in MVP voting 6 times, top 5 in MVP voting 4 times, top 3 in MVP voting 3 times, and is a 2-time MVP winner. In the regular season, he has played 656 games, averaging 32.6 minutes per game. He averages 21.8 points per game, 9.4 rebounds per game, 4.6 assists per game, 1.2 steals per game, 1.3 blocks per game, and 2.9 turnovers per game. He shoots at 53.5% from the field, 28.8% from deep, and 71.8% from the free throw line. In the playoffs, he has played 76 games, averaging 36.4 minutes per game. He averages 26.8 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, 5.2 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 1.4 blocks per game, and 3.2 turnovers per game. He shoots 52.7% from the field, 26.4% from deep, and 62.6% from the free throw line. In the NBA Finals, he has played 6 games, averaging 39.8 minutes per game. He averages 35.2 points per game, 13.2 rebounds per game, 5 assists per game, 1.2 steals per game, 1.8 blocks per game, and 2.3 turnovers per game. He shoots 61.8% from the field, 20% from deep, and 65.9% from the free throw line. Since 1999-2000, there have been 4 players in the NBA that were the best players in the league who didn't garner such recognition. In the early to mid-2000s, this player was Tim Duncan. In the late 2000s to early 2010s, this player was LeBron James. In the mid to late 2010s, this player was Kevin Durant. All 3 of these players in their prime were overshadowed by others despite being a better all-around player or having the ability to deliver when it matters the most in comparison. Right now, there is a player who is going through this. He is having an all-time level prime, doesn't look like slowing down, and will undoubtedly be higher in this list next time. Giannis Antetokounmpo. The greatest European player of all time, the Greek freak is indeed a freak. With a resume containing everything besides a scoring title, Giannis Antetokounmpo bucked the trend of the modern NBA star and has stuck with the franchise that drafted him, ultimately being rewarded with both team and personal success. A unicorn of a player, Antetokounmpo still has a decade of basketball left, and with the gas tank still full, his prime doesn't look to be ending anytime soon. As of the end of the 2021-22 season, Giannis is the best player in the world, and his ability on both ends of the floor serves as proof of this. One of the biggest drafted on potential stories ever, the Milwaukee Bucks took a gamble when they selected Antetokounmpo 15th in the 2013 draft. One of only 2 players in the 2013 class that looked to be going to the Hall of Fame at some stage, Rudy Gobert with 3 DPOY awards will make it. Giannis' rookie season as a long and skinny 19-year-old wasn't special. Earning all rookie honours for a team that delivered the worst record in franchise history, 15-67, Giannis would step into the starting lineup the following season. In turn, the franchise's fortunes would head in the right direction with a 41-41 record, the first 500 record for the team in 5 years, and a playoff appearance that saw a 6-game defeat at the hands of the Chicago Bulls. It was in this starting lineup that Antetokounmpo would grow and develop a chemistry with Chris Middleton, a bond that would pay dividends later. While the team's record would dip in Antetokounmpo's 3rd season, his numbers and impact would continue to grow, and the wider NBA community was starting to take notice of the Bucks and the Greek Freak. This growth and development paid off in 2016-17. In his 4th season, Giannis would earn the league's Most Improved Player award, coupled with the first of his now 6 consecutive All-Star and All-NBA selections, and the first of his 5 All-Defensive Team selections. It was clear he had almost instantly turned the Bucks back into a serious playoff contender and himself into a top 10 player in the league. Despite a first-round loss to the Toronto Raptors, a 7-game loss to the rampaging Boston Celtics the following year didn't stall the start of his prime. Since the start of the 2017-18 season, Giannis' numbers have been the best in the game. 28.4 points, 11.7 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.3 blocks a game, shooting 55.6% from the field in the regular season, has seen him a perennial MVP, scoring title, and Defensive Player of the Year candidate. In the playoffs, his 28.4 points, 12.7 rebounds, 5.6 assists, 1 steal and 1.3 blocks a game, shooting 53.5% from the field, have put the Bucks in championship contention no matter where they are seated. In the middle of his prime, between 2018-19 and 2020-21, Antetokounmpo delivered 3 undeniable seasons, resulting in back-to-back MVP awards, a DPOY award, and one of the best finals series ever to capture his first championship, finals MVP, and the Bucks' first championship since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Oscar Robertson in 1970-71. The 2020-21 playoffs for Giannis were a rollercoaster ride. This was a ride that was full of revenge for the last two seasons. Finishing fourth in MVP voting, Antetokounmpo and the Bucks in the first round swept the Miami Heat to avenge 2020. Round 2 saw one of the best head-to-head battles of all time, as Giannis and Brooklyn's Kevin Durant battled for 7 games. One shoe size may be all that decided things, but Antetokounmpo's averages of 31.9 points and 12.9 rebounds a game on 57.4% shooting from the field proved the difference for a team that saw low efficient contributions across the board. The biggest hurdle the Greek Freak had to overcome was a hyperextended knee in the Eastern Conference Finals against Atlanta. Going down in Game 4, the team rallied to a Game 6 victory, but many saw this as the end of the line before the Suns defeated them for the championship. What happened was the opposite. Starting Game 1 and trailing 2-0 in the series, Giannis delivered one of the greatest NBA Finals performances ever. Scoring 40 points in back-to-back games and sealing Game 6 with the first closeout game of 50 points in the NBA Finals since Bob Pettit in 1959, Antetokounmpo was rewarded for his loyalty and capped off a legendary 3 years. Averaging 35.2 points, 13.2 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.8 blocks on 61.8% shooting, Giannis garnered Finals MVP honours and silenced any criticism about his ability to deliver when it matters. Despite a second-round exit in 2021-22, Antetokounmpo finished top 3 in scoring and MVP voting and earned All-Defensive First-Team honours for the 4th straight season to continue his run as the best player in the world. With Milwaukee looking to bounce back in 2022-23 and Giannis still in his prime, there appears to be more success ahead for the Greek Freak. Giannis Antetokounmpo was selected to the NBA's 75th anniversary team, will be a first ballot Hall of Fame member when he is eligible, and his number 34 will no doubt be retired in Milwaukee. At number 21, Kevin Durant. Active since 2007-8. Durant is a 2-time champion, 2-time Finals MVP, 1-time League MVP, 6-time All-NBA First-Team selection, 4-time All-NBA Second-Team selection, 12-time All-Star selection, 2-time All-Star Game MVP, 4-time scoring champion, Rookie of the Year, and All-Rookie First-Team selection. Durant has finished top 10 in MVP voting 10 times, top 5 in MVP voting 6 times, is a 3-time runner-up MVP, and of course a 1-time MVP winner. In the regular season, he has played 939 games, averaging 36.8 minutes per game. He averages 27.2 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, 4.3 assists per game, 1.1 steals per game, 1.1 blocks per game, and 3.2 turnovers per game. He shoots 49.6% from the field, 38.4% from deep, and 88.4% from the free throw line. In the playoffs, he has played 155 games, averaging 40.4 minutes per game. He averages 29.4 points per game, 7.8 rebounds per game, 4.1 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 1.2 blocks per game, and 3.2 turnovers per game. He shoots 47.6% from the field, 35.6% from deep, and 86.6% from the free throw line. In the NBA Finals, he has played 15 games, averaging 39.3 minutes per game. He averages 30.3 points per game, 7.7 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists per game, 1 steal per game, 1.5 blocks per game, and 2.7 turnovers per game. He shoots 54.6% from the field, 44.8% from deep, and 91.1% from the free throw line. Kevin Durant is the biggest perimeter outlier in NBA history. While Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, and Kobe Bryant have their own category, KD's height, length, and ability to score from anywhere make him arguably the hardest matchup in league history. In another era, Durant would have played the role of a stretch 4. Instead, he has become the best scorer since MJ with an ability to hit the big shot. Many disregard KD's career following his move to Golden State. While the criticism of joining the team that he had trailing 3-1 in the playoffs is fair, KD was already a first ballot Hall of Famer before joining the Warriors, thanks to his regular season performances and leadership of a young Oklahoma City team to the 2012 NBA Finals and multiple conference finals appearances, all before the age of 26. But after his move in 2016-17, the basketball world turned on him, even ignoring his all-time great back-to-back Finals MVP performances against LeBron James. Drafted to Seattle as the second pick of the 2007 draft, Durant would win Rookie of the Year in the team's final season before relocating to Oklahoma City. With future MVP Russell Westbrook drafted in 2008, the Thunder's leading duo was set and would deliver the team their best run of success to date. While there were some baby steps that had to be taken, the Thunder would draft two more key pieces to the puzzle in 2009, with another future MVP in James Harden and Serge Ibaka. The Thunder had their foundation and were ready to compete. Durant exploded into the top tier of NBA players in 2009-10, earning the first of his 10 All-NBA selections, the first of his 12 All-Star selections, and the first of 4 career scoring titles. KD finished runner-up to LeBron James in MVP voting as the Thunder went down to the eventual repeat champion Los Angeles Lakers. This would be the first of 5 straight playoffs and 6 overall for OKC with Durant as the leader. Another scoring title in 2010-11 saw KD and the Thunder run into that Dallas Mavericks team in the Western Conference Finals before the lockout season of 2011-12 saw OKC take the next step. Playing at a 50-win pace in the lockout season, the Thunder announced themselves as the team of the future, sweeping the defending champion Mavericks, a 5-game victory against the Lakers, and a 6-game win over the Spurs. OKC faced off against the Miami Heat and their big three in the NBA Finals. With Durant winning his 3rd straight scoring title and finishing runner-up MVP again to LeBron James, this would be a head-to-head battle in the NBA Finals that hadn't been seen since Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaquille O'Neal in 1995. While LeBron and the Heat would win the first of their back-to-back titles, KD would not be disgraced as he averaged 30.6 points on 54.8% shooting. This wouldn't be the last time these two would meet in the NBA Finals, or the last time KD averaged over 30 points a game in the Finals. With James Harden heading to Houston in 2012-13, the team would regroup despite a 60-win season. Durant would finish second in both scoring title and MVP race, but would take it up a gear in 2013-14. Winning his 4th scoring title, KD would be crowned league MVP and solidify his individual legacy. An elimination in the 2014 Western Conference Finals to the eventual champion Spurs, coupled with injury in 2014-15, was not how Durant saw his peak playing out. A championship was all that eluded both he and his teammates, and come the 2016 playoffs, it looked even further out of reach as the Thunder matched up against the 73-9 Golden State Warriors and the unanimous MVP, Stephen Curry. KD and the Thunder had caught the Warriors off guard. With Golden State struggling, OKC took a 3-1 series lead and looked set to head to the NBA Finals once again. That was until Durant, to this point, had his worst playoff collapse. Failing to close out the series, the Warriors rallied to win in 7 games. For Durant, this was his last game for the Thunder and the last time he was loved as a superstar on a team that just couldn't break through. In 2016-17, Durant would join the Warriors, a move that was heavily criticised by all basketball fans. KD had no choice but to prove that he was the man on his new team. And what better way to do that than to win back-to-back Finals MVP awards against his career rival, LeBron James. In his 2 finals in 2017 and 2018, Durant posted rounded series averages of 35 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal and 2 blocks, and 29 points, 11 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal and 2 blocks, while shooting in the 50-40-90 club. Make no mistake, his production in those NBA Finals is some of the best by a small forward in history. With the Warriors about to three-peat, Durant would suffer a calf strain early in the playoffs, before rupturing his Achilles tendon in Game 5 of the 2019 Finals. This would be the last time KD would play for the Warriors, joining the Brooklyn Nets in the 2019 off-season. Missing all of 2019-20, KD would return in 2020-21 to help lead Brooklyn into the second round of the playoffs. A 7-game battle with Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Milwaukee Bucks may have gone their way had it not been for his extra-large shoes, but his performance as the leader was arguably the best of his career. 2021-22 saw Durant play 55 games, but his performance in the first round of the playoffs against Boston proved to be the worst of his career. With Durant now committed to the Nets, it will be interesting to see how his career closes out. Kevin Durant was selected to the NBA's 75th anniversary team, will likely have his number 35 retired in either Oklahoma City or Golden State, and will be a first ballot member of the Basketball Hall of Fame when he is eligible.